So everybody can be signed is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, all three of us.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right. Good evening, everybody. And of course, I have a picture to show you this week. Hold on. Coming in 3, 2, 1. Yes, Vernon Hargreaves. What is wrong with you? Which one of these things is not like the others, guys? Is it the guy in the flip-flops and the sweatshirt that's not supposed to be on the field that got a 15-yard penalty? Okay, That's the answer to that question. I would love to talk more Super Bowl tonight, but tonight is ball night. I'm Stephen Rabinowitz.
I'm anxiously looking forward to finally talking a little ball. I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Anthony Strait, and even though we're talking ball tonight, I do want to acknowledge my tribal chief, the head of the table. You know who he is.
And I also acknowledge
Saturday, of course. We the ones.
I also acknowledge the special counsel Paul Heyman. All right, this is the mid-season NBA 2022 report of On the Sports Lens. All right, not only have we hit the All-Star break, which is kind of a weird saying, as we're only like 25 to 30 games away from each team ending their regular season already, we've also hit what I like to call as Valentine's Day week. So Monday was Valentine's Day, but as a married man who has had a good idea and bad idea every now and then, this show, I also want to give you some good gifts and bad gifts to buy that special someone. So let's start with the opener, and I want to start with the bad idea. And that's suggesting a makeover for that special someone. Doesn't really work. You don't really want to do that. It only really works good for NBA teams because they make each over pretty much every week. Like the Nets and the 76ers, which made a trade a week ago that is still, we're feeling the rumbles of it, as Brooklyn sended, now disgruntled, at least for now, guard James Harden and forward Paul Millsap, what is wrong with my tongue tonight, to Philly for definitely disgruntled guard Ben Simmons, happy guard Seth Curry, and center Andre Drummond, plus a 2022 and 2027 draft pick. But who cares about draft picks? This is the NBA. We just saw a team win the Super Bowl without them, so who cares? All right, this has been the talk of the NBA town, so let's dissect. Anthony, you're going to start first. Let's start the positives and the negatives of the package of players coming to Brooklyn.
Well, number one, the positive and the most obvious one is whatever was going on in the locker room between Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you don't have to worry about that anymore. James Harden is gone, so to Philadelphia. And that's one of the positives. The second positive is I feel like the Nets won this trade, not because of Ben Simmons, but the other pieces they got in this trade. And that's Seth Curry and Andre Drummond, respectively. Think about this. The Nets are near the bottom in rebounding overall, particularly defensive rebounding, which has actually hurt the Nets as they don't really have any bigs. Andre Drummond gives them a huge, no pun intended, shot in the arm. And there's a reason why I said that in our next segment. But, you look at how he performed against the Knicks 24 hours ago, almost 20 rebounds in his second game. Seth Curry gives the Nets an outside shooter and a playmaker that they definitely lost when Joe Harris went down and he possibly done for the season as he's had setback from rehabbing his injury. Steph Curry, 20 points in his debut against Sacramento a few nights ago, 23 in that remarkable comeback win against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. He provides a lot of floor spacing, and obviously you can't leave him wide open. One of the things, and another positive is that the Nets get back a couple of the draft picks that they pretty much gave away in the Harden trade. So it's pretty much become a wash as far as what the Nets lost, as far as what they're getting back. But overall, the Nets are getting some much needed depth and a boost to the roster. Now, here's the negative side. The timing of the trade. And you mentioned there's only 24 games left after the All-Star break. Remember when teams only literally played half a season before the All-Star break? They played the other half. Whatever happens to that schedule. But anyway, the timing of it is not the greatest if you're Steve Nash and the coaching staff. You already had no Kevin Durant. You had James Harden that was pretty much checked out, and you don't have Kyrie Irving for home games. You pretty much now have to incorporate new guys with two superstars that's not playing right now. Kevin Durant, no timetable for his return. Ben Simmons, we don't know what shape he's in, or as far as, or when he's going to be back in. But also another negative to this is that you may have inadvertently strengthened an Eastern Conference rival that is you're already the eighth seed right now going into the All-Star break, and you might have basically boosted a team you're trying to leapfrog to get out of that playing scenario, right? I think Philadelphia came in tonight. That's the fifth team in the Eastern Conference. But these are the teams you may eventually run into in the playoffs, and you may actually giving them a big lift because now Joel Embiid has a second scorer that he didn't have to start the season. So these are some of the negatives that does come with this trade. I think the Nets did a great job. They had to move Harden. I think Harden did not want to be in Brooklyn anymore. They made it obvious. They were probably going to lose him for nothing anyway in the offseason.
You basically just said it in a nutshell there. And that's kind of the reason why they are in this situation right now. So I'm very Steph Curry's contract runs through 2025. So if the Nets feel compelled to move on from Joe Harris, Steph Curry is kind of that fallback option right now. And I think they are really thinking about moving on from Joe Harris. We'll talk about that in a second. Hey, Jay, I've heard a rumor that when I was looking for the tape of you saying that you will never win a championship with James Harden. Surprise! He's now a Sixer. Let's take a look at the good and the bad.
Win a championship, but
let's take a look at the good and the. Let's take a look in the bad for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers, please.
All right. I did a lot of dissecting, guys, so kind of bear with me on this.
And praying, by the way, too, as you went beforehand. Those two go the same.
Yeah. Now, Harden said at his introductory press conference that Philly had been his first choice all along when he was looking to get out of Houston. It just didn't work out. So he's supposedly very happy to be in the city of brotherly love. The bear should be careful what he wishes for. All right, here's some positives. I'll give you some positives and negatives, and I'm gonna get into some depth here. Here's the number one positive. Philly gets a legit number 2 scoring option, someone who can get his own shot, hit from 3, get to the line, rebound, and get shots for others. 22.5 points per game, 8 boards, a little over 10 assists. They haven't had a guy like this since Jimmy Butler. Now, in his last 8 games prior to the hamstring sidelining him, Harden averaged 25 points, almost 12 assists, and 8 boards in 37.5 minutes.
This meeting is being recorded.
Rabbi, this is being recorded. Good to know.
Yeah, good to know. We started a little bit late on the recording portion of it, but we'll continue on with your opinion of the Sixers portion of this trade.
All right. He shot 36.5% from 3 on 5 attempts per game and 87.9% from the line at over 8 attempts per game. Here's another positive. They didn't have to give up either Matisse Thybulle or Therese Maxey. Here's another positive. Tobias Harris drops to the number 3 scoring option, which is probably better for him. Same with Maxey dropping to the number 4 option. Here's some negatives. How do you fit Harden, who's a ball-dominant guard? He leads the league in both time of possession and isolation possessions. This is a guy who averages over 7.5 isolation possessions a game. Granted, he gets about 1.06 points per possessions on ISO. That's number 7 in the league. He's used to running a lot of pick and rolls with guys who can, then run, who are rim runners like, say, Clint Capella in his time in Houston. How do you fit that with Embiid, who's used to running a lot of post-ups in the low block? 30% of his possessions, he averages 1.09 points per possession on his post-ups. And even when Embiid is involved in a pick and roll, he's more inclined to pop out than rim roll. He's knocking down 50% from the mid-range. So how soon it takes Harden to adjust to that will determine if this negative becomes a positive. Now, don't underestimate the loss of Andre Drummond. That is a negative. Backup center has been a big issue for the Sixers during the Embiid era, and Drummond had done a really good job in the minutes Embiid sat during a game or on nights where he couldn't play at all. Here's another negative. Harden is at best an NBA average defender and is at his best in a switch-heavy scheme, something Philly doesn't really run. At his worst, he's as much of a liability as Curry, though other teams aren't as likely to hunt mismatches against him. Here's my breakdown of the rest of this. There's no timeline for Harden to suit up, but it's going to obviously be sometime after the All-Star break. Thankfully, the Sixers have learned full well how to play without an all-star. Having Harden allows the Sixers to play what might be, on paper anyway, their most complete five-man unit. You got Harden alongside Maxey in the backcourt, Embiid and Harris at the 5 and the 4, and you can put Thibault at the 3. The offensive firepower that Harden can bring can offset the lack of offense that comes with Thibault and allow the Sixers to keep him on the floor, locking down the opposing team's number one perimeter threat. We all know how much Philly's defense has suffered without Ben Simmons on the floor. Here's another thing. Besides how to fit Harden with Embiid, here's another question. How's Harden going to play alongside Maxey? Will he take over as the point guard like he did in Brooklyn when he's on the floor with the kid, or will he play more off the ball? Where they share both roles, playing on and off the ball, depending on the game situation and the lineups on the floor for both Philly and the opponent. Maxey's development as the starting point guard, 16.9 points per game, 4.6 assists, 3.6 boards, with a shooting slash line of 47.2 from the floor, 39.5 from 3, and 86.3 from the stripe, and 35.5 minutes per game, and improving both his scoring and playmaking as well as his chemistry with Embiid as the season has progressed has been the big positive for Philly to come out of Simmons not playing, and that development needs to continue. Now, paired with an elite ball-dominant playmaker in Harden, Maxey may have to take on more of a secondary role at times. He's much improved from 3 this season. He may need to fire away from deep a little bit more often, especially in catch and shoot situations off the ball. Now, Doc Rivers staggering Embiid and Harden's minutes by maybe running Harden with the bench unit instead of going all bench like it's been the hallmark of his time here, and allowing Embiid and Maxey to share as many minutes together as possible will help this problem, though Doc has been not great about staggering his stars' minutes in the past. We'll see what happens here. Philly has struggled to consistently get Embiid the ball in positions that make it easier for him to score. Harden isn't just someone you can sag off and dare to shoot. One of the best scorers in the history of the game, and even in a down shooting season like this one, you won't see opponents dare him to knock down shots. He keeps defenses honest, and if he can keep the mindset that he had when he initially came to Brooklyn to pair with Durant and Irving, taking over when needed and being the type of playmaker who can get guys like Embiid and others the ball, then this could be the move that hugely improves Philly's chances of a deep postseason run. We'll see what happens when he finally suits up. There's not a lot of regular season games for them to try and figure out this fit, so we'll see what happens.
It's just so weird to finally see Embiid and Harden together. I feel like we've kind of teased this since the end of the Houston days when he was partying in strip clubs, trying to get himself saying, trade me. All right, so where do they fit in the East? I don't know. And I think the one question that Jay mentioned is, when is Harden going to come in? Because more than ever, seeding is important this year, because it can mean the difference between playing an inexperienced team like Cleveland. We'll talk about Cleveland in a little bit in the playoffs, or playing a team like Milwaukee, a team who just coming off a championship in the playoffs. In my opinion,
tonight.
Yes, they are. They are very up and down. They just got killed by Boston the night before. All right. So in my opinion, there are 4 teams that are still kind of the class of the East. Brooklyn, I know that's surprising, but when Kevin Durant is on the floor, your chances of winning go up exponentially. The Sixers, the Heat, and the Bucks. As long as the Sixers don't draw any of them, they'll be fine. I think they can play off of their playoff experience that they got last year. They got 12 games out of that lineup last year, and they will learn a lot of things from that Atlanta series, kind of like how the Clippers learned the year before from their Denver series that got them to the Western Conference Finals and has put them in a situation where they're always kind of the underdog there. I'm very curious, though, because I don't know where the Sixers fit. I think they're a better fit than the Nets. I think this trade was better for the Sixers now and better for the Nets later. This is an all-in situation. So Philly should be a conference finals team, but I don't know. I still think the Bucks are better when the chips come down to it, because they have Giannis. Giannis can stay healthy, and Giannis has proven he can be the best player on the court in a clutch situation. And he did that a little bit in the Atlanta series last year, but not enough, in my opinion, to compare to what Giannis can bring. The Heat are a wild card because at full strength, and with Tyler Hero playing the way that he has this year, exponentially better than his bubble performance, there's very few teams from 1 to 10 who are better than Miami. And of course, they have a all-time great coach, a top 75 top coach of all time, in Eric Spoelstra. at the helm. Brooklyn, I just don't know, and we'll get to them in a second. They are such a wild card right now, and I'm curious what
Rabbi,
this
you're
team is
completely ignoring the
like.
team that's atop the Eastern Conference in Chicago.
I am completely ignoring Chicago because I
Why?
just don't know exactly
All
what
right.
they're going to be in the playoffs, and I don't know if they're going to have Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso back
That
at
is
full
key.
strength, and if they don't, they just don't have enough experience. I don't trust Zach LaVine in a playoff
Okay.
series,
Fair enough.
so that's just my opinion. But
Fair enough.
I know this is kind of the throw up your hands answer, but I have no idea where Philly fits right now in the Eastern Conference. I don't think they're the best team, but they can be the best team, which is something they couldn't have been with a Ben Simmons person sitting at home and Joel Embiid not getting the most help possible. And I think this trade does that. All right. Here's a good idea for your Valentine's week. Go to one of the original artichoke pizza places with your loved one. It's 59 Fifth Avenue, Brooklyn. I'm sure Anthony's been there once or twice, but don't have it too many times or you might get sick of it. Speaking of things on Fifth Avenue where too much might be a good thing, the Brooklyn Nets for most of the season were stealth, so to speak. Not healthy, but they were hovering around the top 4 seeds in the Eastern Conference. And then in mid-January, a sprained left MCL of the knee that knocked Kevin Durant out changed all of that. And after 11 consecutive losses ended this Monday against the Kings, Anthony was there, the Nets are now can't believe I'm saying this, 31-27 team as they now have a week off. So let's dissect. Jay, Captain Obvious pick. Who is the Nets most valuable player?
I mean, come on. It is literally Captain Obvious. It's Kevin Durant. I mean, come on.
That should be his nickname for this one, Captain Obvious.
Quite possibly. It's the only real selection. I mean, the counting stats, 29.3 points per game, 7.4 boards, 5.8 assists. He's shooting 76.7% at the rim, 51.8 in the mid-range, 37.2% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. He's getting to the line a little over 7 attempts, and he's making a little over 89% of them. This guy has a true shooting percentage of 62.6 and an effective field goal percentage of 56.6. The guy scores efficiently. The guy scores often. And even before the Nets traded James Harden to Philly and before Kyrie Irving started playing road games, Durant was the Nets. The team is 5-12 in the last 17 games in a row. The team's played without him since he went down with that MCL sprain. 8-15 overall in the games he's missed. 23-12 when he's played. How much more than that do you need as proof? The injury is not going to require surgery, just rehab, but there's no timetable for his return. The question is whether the Nets can keep their heads above water until Durant gets back. Now, New York Mayor Eric Adams rescinding the vaccine mandate that prevents Irving from playing in Brooklyn and in Madison Square Garden would be a big help. But there's no timetable for that either, as the Big Apple's new head of government said he will follow the science. There's also no timetable for when newly acquired Ben Simmons will set foot on the floor at the Barclays Center. That's a lot of scenarios that will theoretically improve the net situation that don't have a timeline. Look, as big as the comeback from 28 down to beat the Knicks without any of their stars was, and as good as it was to see Seth Curry do what Sixer fans have been seeing him do all season when he's on, drop 6 of 9 from downtown and 20 points, seeing Cam Thomas channel his inner Kyrie with 21 off the bench, and Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge both putting up double-doubles, combining for 29 points and 19 boards in about 43 combined minutes. This is the Knicks we're talking about, so don't put too much stock in it. The trade with the Sixers gave the Nets some solid secondary players who can provide some quality depth and production. But if the Nets are going to have any chance of holding on to the East's number 8 seed against a post-All-Star break schedule that has 15 of their 24 games being against teams that are over 500 and would be in the playoffs if the season ended today, they need Durant back to health ASAP and back to his pre-injury MVP form. The numbers don't lie.
Just get to the 6 if you're the Nets. Just get to the 6 and get yourself a playoff series. It has nothing to do with Kyrie Irving being available for more games. Just get yourself in the tournament and do not have to play those extra games. We saw how that happened to the Lakers last year and the Warriors, who had enough talent not even getting in. All right, Jay, Anthony, poo-poo platter to choose from. But when you have Kyrie Irving as an option to knock, I think I always know how the answer is going to go for an LVP.
Yeah, I mean, I have to put this out there. Kyrie Irving is not getting his least valuable player award because of his play. He's actually been playing. He actually played well in the 14 games he's been on the court. All the road games, obviously, 24 points a game, shooting 45% from the field, just under 5 rebounds, and just above 5 assists a game. Pretty Kyrie Irving numbers, if you ask me. So that's not why he's getting at least my MVP for tonight. He's not getting it because of his choice of not getting vaccinated. That is his personal choice. I've said this numerous times. That is his decision. What's best for him, whatever that is, maybe it is. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to advocate either side. However, he is getting my least valuable player award because for 2 reasons. Number one, as much as he don't want to admit it, his choice, unfortunately, is having a ripple effect on the Nets this season, as he is not available for the next 2 weeks because the Nets are playing a lot of home games before and even after the All-Star break, including the game at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks because of the New York City mandate. That is number one. Number two, Kyrie Irving, if you're going to take a stand and you stick by your convictions, that's great, but you cannot play both sides of the argument here, all right? You cannot be at a press conference basically talking about how you have no regrets about being vaccinated, while at the same time talking about how you wish you could be on the court with your teammates, and it's frustrating. Well, which one is it? Because when you made your personal choice, which is he was one of his rights to do so, he wasn't thinking about his teammates at that point. He wasn't thinking about his teammates in the 2 months he was sitting at home and watching everyone from local and national media bring up the fact that the Nets were missing Kyrie Irving when the Nets stumbled out of the gate, but then eventually rose to the top of the conference without him. And he clearly wasn't thinking about his teammates when the Nets decided to bring him back for road games. Now, obviously, if he really felt that strongly about being with his teammates and being involved, he would go get vaccinated. But again, that is his choice. But if you make that choice, do not cry and complain about the consequences later on and play the victim card when it is your choice. By the way, where was Mr. Voice of the Voiceless when just last week, 1,500 New Yorkers lost their job for the very same mandate that is keeping you from playing home games? The difference is you're still being paid $17 million, whether you show up or not. And rumor has it, he hasn't been showing up for practice neither. So that's more of a Kyrie thing. Those 1,500 people that lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods, they're not getting those back, whether the mandate get lifted or not. But you was nowhere in sight, and these are the same people who spoke on your behalf and boycotted outside of Barclays Center for your behalf. Where were you last week? So that's my pet peeve for Kyrie Irving. But I gotta give some of the blame to Sean Moss and the Nets front office too, because Kyrie's personal choice was his. You created this problem, number one, by allowing him to be a part-time player after you initially chose that either it's all in or not. You chose it. Now, Rabbi and I go back and forth on this multiple times over this. And I understand the Nets had a bad issue with COVID. They needed bodies. Everyone in the league had a bad issue with the Omicron variant between December and January. I am not going to take that out of the equation. I understand it from the Nets standpoint. But clearly, they did not look at the idea that Steve Nash would be coaching essentially 2 different teams, home and away, which affects the game plan regardless, because obviously a Kyrie Irving on the court gives you a much better chance of winning than without him, for better or for worse. That's number one. Number two, I don't know what happened between Kyrie and James Harden. That's not fair to blame him for it, because James Harden's own history of quitting should be taken into consideration. But the Nets should have took into account how Kyrie's part-time status may actually affect the guys in the locker room. Clearly, James Harden is open about it, but we don't know if he may be the only one who felt that way. Maybe there are other guys in the locker room who don't want to speak up because they don't want to bring the drama into the locker room, but maybe feel the same way. I feel like the Nets, even though they had a lot, and I agree with Rabbi to this point, they did have a logical reason for allowing him to be a part-timer. They didn't see Kevin Durant injury happen either. But at the same time, I don't think they thought it out completely or taking into consideration that Kyrie Irving, as a full-timer last year, could not be trusted to do the right thing when he took time off from the team and did a lot of other numerous things besides basketball. So I feel like there's a shell blame here, but in Kyrie Irving's case, look, I respect his personal choice, but you cannot play the victim card here. And this is why he's my least viable player. It's that your lack of availability is hurting the team, but you cannot be the victim in this one. You made a choice.
All you said, by the way, in all of these comments were things that are logical and stuff that you assume. Like Kyrie Irving, as mentioned before, as you've mentioned to me many times, is the vice president of the Players Association for some ridiculous reason. People like him. And yes, I've also told you, by the way, I told you, by the way, that you can mention the fact that that Kyrie Irving played 8 of those 11 games for them on that road trip. He hasn't helped the team at all this year. I think you are absolutely correct. However, at this point, the Nets understand that the body is more important than the impact. I completely understand what you're saying about Kyrie in the locker room and Kyrie in every other place, but there are other factors to the reason why this team is only 4 over 500. I think Kyrie is one of them, but he's not the main reason. That's all I'm going to say about that.
No, he's not. And look, we have said this on the show multiple times. We have said this about Kyrie going back to when he was LeBron's sidekick in Cleveland and when he was supposedly the de facto alpha in Boston. Kyrie Irving is, for the most part, fine within that 94 by 50 environment that is a basketball court. But if you don't take into account all of the other things that happen when he leaves that environment, you are only taking into account half of the Kyrie Irving situation.
Kyrie Irving's a magician. He's an artist. It's just getting him to that canvas to actually let him do his job. That is the problem right here. And by the way, when he brings up the NBA and the Players Association, making it very clear that there were things that he would be able to work around, what are you talking about? You're the vice president. Everything goes through you and Chris Paul. What in God's name are you talking about, Kyrie? There's no player mandate. I don't know what the hell Kyrie is trying to prove here. Look, Matt's comment said it best. It's one thing to be smart and to sound smart. I think Kyrie tries really too hard and ends up talking out of his ass once in a while. Look, he's a great player.
Once in a while?
He's a very bright guy. I'm not going to take anything from him, but there are times where when Kyrie talks, it's like, just stop, please.
I'm putting a kibosh to all of this Kyrie stuff right now and mentioning quickly my second half storyline is Seth Curry's impact on the Nets. I think getting someone like Seth Curry, who is a very good rotation player who can easily be in your starting lineup for a championship ball club, does better than the person who he is replacing right now, and that's Joe Harris. I don't know if Joe Harris's injuries are, I don't think he's coming back this season or you don't make this trade. I don't know if he's going to have a more friendly contract getting into those last 3 years. I don't know if he ever plays another game for the Nets again, because I think Steph Curry can do what Joe Harris does and do it better. He was 10 for 18 in that opening game. Him playing for the Nets against Sacramento was 7 for 14 last night against the Knicks, only 4 for 11 tonight. His defense, obviously, is something to really be a question to. You almost have to hide him on defense. Jay knows it's terrible. You have to hide him defense.
Hunt him.
Yeah, and Jay knows that Atlanta series. Kevin Huerter put him in the spin cycle in that game 7, and it's a problem. But I think right now you need more bodies. Like, you lose James Harden, and that's one of the reasons why all of these losses came in a row. Because when you have 1 or 0 of the big 3, role players have to become stars. And only last night, when they played a very inept team that we're about to talk about, did those role players actually become stars. I think Seth is a very good rotation piece, and I think he is going to be a key to keeping this team together. Again, the Nets just have to get to that 6th position. They're going to be fighting with Toronto and Boston to get to that position. They still play Boston twice more. In fact, right after the All-Star break, they will do that on the 24th next week. And that is going to be the difference between if Brooklyn is going to be comfortable going into the playoffs on momentum, or if they're going to be just very, very bothered and going to be a complete failure this year. Although, like I said, we'll say this, the trade that they made allows them to be competitive next year and the year after, because we know Durant's not going anywhere. I'm pretty sure the vaccine mandate's not going to stick for 2 more years, but if it does, maybe Kyrie comes to his senses. I doubt it, but I do think this team does have more of a window now than they did a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bad idea. An NYC replica. Get any stuff from a tourist store. It might look good now, but in a year, you're going to ask yourself, why did I do that? And why did I think this was a good idea? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the life of being a Knicks fan. After avoiding the play-in game altogether last year and getting the 4 seed in the East, and me being pessimistic the whole year, this year, good Lord, does that come to reality? 25-34, 3, count them, 3 20-point blown leads in just the last 12 days. And that means 12th place in the Eastern Conference. They're 2 games out of the 10th playoff play-in spot, but right now there's a lot more problems with this team, and we're going to get to them right now. While I get my charger, Jay, here's a pretty obvious MVP for the Knickerbockers.
Yeah, again, it's another guy who's currently on the injured list, and that's RJ Barrett. He's been their most consistent performer, and until he got hurt, and he's still day-to-day with that ankle injury, so the team does expect him to return for the first game after the All-Star break. He was in the middle of a stretch where he was really starting to make some noise with his game. From January 1 until he went down, he was averaging 22.5 points per game, 5.8 boards, 3.3 assists. His usage rate was at 28.6% in those 19 games. That rate would be number 1 on the Knicks and 20th NBA wide if it had been his rate for the full season. His shooting slash line in those 19 games, 42.5% from the floor, 39.5% from 3 on 6 attempts a game, 68.9% free throws on 6 attempts per game. Would like to see that number go up a little bit. But those are the kind of numbers you want to see from a guy you're looking to be one of your primary scoring options. He'd improved his finishing at the rim to a career high of 62.8 this season. We had talked multiple times on this show about one of the problems with Barrett and why he was not getting to the line as often as a guy who gets into the lane as he does, was that he was not finishing well around the rim. That's been a big improvement this year. It's why his free throws per game are a career high 4.6 throughout across the season. You'd like to see him be closer to last season, 74.6% from the line, than this season's overall 69.5%. And though his 3-point percentage is down to 35.4% from last season's 40.1%, his attempts per game are up from 4.3 to 5.6, which is what Tibbs has wanted, more 3-pointer attempts a game from his team. I'd also like to see his overall field goal percentage get closer to last season's 44.1%. He's currently at 41.2 overall, but his confidence in his game, in his ability to take over and make shots when this team needs a bucket, that's the type of improvement we've been looking for from him. Now, ankle injuries can be tricky, and it may take some time for Barrett to regain his pre-injury form, but if he can get back there and take some of the load off of Julius Randle, the Knicks have a chance of getting back to 500 and staying in the mix for a play-in slot. The 3.5 games back of the Hawks as of today, or is it 2.5, Rabbi? It's 2.5? 2.5. You're muted, by the way, partner. That's about as good a best case.
It's 2.5. It's 2.5.
It's if they can get there, that's about as good as the best case scenario is likely to get for the Knickerbockers this season. Rabbi, I know the pain you're going through. I feel you, man. It's definitely been a tough turnaround after the promise of last season.
You're actually right. It is 3.5 now that I think about it. Yeah, I think though seeing Barrett be more of a leader and more of a confidence booster has helped. I don't care right now. I just want to see improvement, and that I think right now we Knicks fans expect this to be an empty season. But I think kind of like how the Giants ended their season and how you saw the hope wane down to what is almost an embarrassing level, the Knicks are getting there. Anthony, Captain Negative for the day. Time to give me another LVP.
The least favorite player has got to be Julius Randle. You think about the rated most improved, the rated most improved player of the year. His numbers are down excuse me, across the board. I mean, he's averaging 19.8 points a game, 10 rebounds, but let's be honest, those are way down from his numbers last year where he averaged 24 and 10 rebounds and shot 45% from the field. More importantly, 41% from threes. That is well into the low 30s this season, which has been a negative problem. But it's not the fact that his numbers are down. It's everything else. Like Julius Randle is getting into it with the fans. He's doing thumbs down gestures. I don't know if he watched the Mets to realize that doing a thumbs down gesture to the fans never work out well for anybody. Hence Javier Baez being in another team in City right now. But Julius Randle has sparred with fans. He's taking his frustration out on a laptop. He has 9 technical fouls this season. It seems like, I don't know if Julius Randle frustration has to do with maybe not playing up to where he was a year ago, which was kind of expected. I mean, the Knicks as a team kind of overperformed their expectations last year. I mean, they got hot late in the year when they won 9 games in a row and went 20-10 down the stretch and getting to that 4th spot. But Julius Randle was such a catalyst behind it. And also, here's another key stat. In clutch situations, he's 43rd in clutch shooting. Last year, he was the 12th most dependable player in the final 2 minutes or less in the 4th quarter. In the last 7 games, he's played better now. He's played 29.5 points a game. He's averaging 12 rebounds and 12 rebounds and shooting close to 50%. But what matters to that? What difference does that make when your team is blowing 20-point leads, 2 on a roll, one against a team that I have to talk about later on that basically blew up their roster because things weren't working out, and at home to a net team that basically did not have any of his superstars and a rookie who got hot in the 4th quarter. Look, Julius Randle's season so far, at least in the first half, has been a microcosm of what the next season has been all year, which has been an uneven mess, and it's gotten worse as the season progressed.
And the worst part about it is I think it's almost like a situation where if you saw how that team was, given Barrett wasn't the player that he was now, but if you saw how that team was when Barrett was out with COVID, they were even worse than the team that is on the floor now. So you're almost in a situation is when you get rid of Randle, you're really back to rebuilding, and the Knicks have been rebuilding a lot. And I think considering what we've seen last year, the fact that we have to go back into another rebuilding project for the Knicks, it's kind of a little annoying. And by the way, team hasn't given up less than 100 points this whole month, which is one of the reasons why we've had seen the multiple blown leads of 20 plus points for the Knicks. Very quickly, my storyline is actually going to change a little bit. I was originally going to talk about Tibbs and how he's going to use players who haven't really played full games a lot in his tenure, and that being Obi Toppin. Obviously, he plays the same role as Julius Randle does, but every time Toppin has been on the floor in little bits and pieces, he has wowed. He is a 5th overall pick. You're going to go to the youth of this team. Julius Randle is probably not going to be on this team in a year or 2. So you need to start thinking about how the young players who, especially in the beginning of the season, look so much better than the starting lineup. But now everybody is now falling, unfortunately, to the same mean. And then that's the case, just play Obi Toppin a little bit more. I think everybody wants to see that. I know he might struggle playing more than 20 minutes a game, but you have to find out before you start dangling around trades in the offseason, because the Knicks are going to have to make some moves to kind of get themselves back in contention, or they're just going to be in the doldrums for a lot. And Cam Reddish, he was almost non-existent until the Barrett injury. Played about 20. The first game he played 20 to 25 minutes in. They played the Warriors and they won against the Warriors. You need contributions from guys who showed promise. He's another top 10 pick. And that leads me to one question. And I think it's ridiculous to say, and I know the Jay Kaplan School of Patience is going to yell at us for this, but even Anthony mentioned this to me last night. Is Tibbs really the coach for this team? I think the way that they respond well for Tibbs. Julius Randle defended Tom Thibodeau last night during the post-game press conference, but you have to wonder, you saw this in Minnesota, how the team revolted against him so quickly. Thibodeau is a guy who teaches such a high style of everything that sometimes, and he plays favorites. No doubt in my mind, he plays favorites. He will go to his trustworthy guys the most, and he will ride his guys into the ground. But you have to wonder, I want to give it another season, but if this continues, where they're continuously blowing leads like this, the first person, unfortunately, whose head is on the chopping block is the coach. It would be the GM, but no one can find Leon Rose in all of New York. So unfortunately, the most visible person is Tom Thibodeau. And that's something I wonder going forward. It seems like a preposterous thing to say, but it has crossed a lot of Knicks fans' minds.
Hey, look.
Well, I mean,
we're a long
Rabbi,
way from
here's
baseball,
the
that's for
thing.
sure.
Well, here's the thing. I think this year Tibbs has to get a bit of a pass for a couple of reasons. One, the trade for the signing of Kemba Walker just has not worked out, and I don't think anyone saw that coming. And Derrick Rose going down has made the point guard situation right now worse than it was when it was Alfred Payton and a host of others last year. Barrett going down right there. Two of your best players, two guys that Tibbs counts on, not there. The fact that, the Nets are barely keeping their heads above water minus their best players, you got to give them a pass on that. Also, I don't think Rose, and maybe the reason you haven't been able to find him, and maybe it's the reason he brought in his old buddy Gerson Rosas, who was the GM in Minnesota, is because Rose is realizing that maybe he's not quite on the same page with Tibbs. The key with Tibbs is, yes, he runs a particular system. He needs a particular type of player to fit that system. Rose hasn't done him any favors in terms of the guys he's brought in. So
Absolutely.
Maybe they need a friend, and there's way too many cooks in the kitchen in that front office right now. And I don't know if Rosa is there to clean things up or just add one more voice. But the Knicks front office needs to figure out a pecking order, decide who's really making the decisions, and start. If you're going to go get players, get the players who actually fit the system that Tibbs is looking to run. If your front office and your coach are not on the same page in terms of players, yeah, Tibbs is going to play guys he trusts, and every coach in the NBA does that. But if there's less players on this roster that Tibbs thinks works in his system, they are not going to play. If he thinks they fit, and you can say what you want about him and young players, Grimes has found a place for himself. So
Absolutely.
if you do what he needs, if you can defend and you can knock down shots and you put the effort out there, he will play you, youngster or veteran, it doesn't matter. But considering all the injuries and the lack of production from guys who were brought in expressly to provide production, along with the struggles of Randall, I don't know that you can lay this, as you said, lost season at Thibodeau's feet. That's just
I understand exactly what you're saying. Unfortunately, if it does come down to a decision where management or coaching has to go,
so if Dolan decides to throw a temper tantrum, yeah, Tibbs is going to be.
It has nothing to do with throwing a temper tantrum. It just has to do with what the voice that they need is. And that's going to be a question that, honestly, I don't know the answer to right now. And unfortunately, the player health issue is a tough one because players get injured. You're almost no team right now can say I have a full complement of players on the court. And that's another huge problem. But again, that's more of a philosophical thing that we could argue until we're blue in the face. And I'm right now about to be blue in the face. So let's
and
move
we
on.
will again.
Here's a good idea. Get a big box of chocolate for your loved one. You can salivate over it. There are many different varieties, and if you really want to bargain, they're half off at many establishments this week. But outside of that half off thing, the Eastern Conference is like that. We are, as of Tuesday, they were just 5.5 games separating the first seed, which is home court advantage throughout all the conference playoffs, to the 7th, which is home court advantage for a stupid play-in that may not even make you a playoff team. let's go around the horn and talk about surprises, disappointments, and the teams to watch. I've seen almost all of them this year, so I'm going to give you shit for all of your picks. Jay, who's your surprise?
So, Rabbi, you're saying that the East is like a box of chocolates. You never know.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get. You just don't know exactly in what order those chocolates need to be eaten is really the most important thing.
All right. So, I mean, I think, again, I'm going to be Captain Obvious tonight. The Captain Obvious choice of surprise first half team in the East has got to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, anyone who saw this team, that finished 13th in the East last season at 22-50, being 35-23 in the number 4 seed as we head into the All-Star break, is either the most optimistic Cavs fan ever or has their own psychic hotline. They were already solidly in the East top 4 before the trade deadline, behind All-Star seasons from point guard Darius Garland and center Jared Allen, a terrific rookie season from forward Evan Mobley, and a rejuvenated Kevin Love, who seems to be absolutely loving his role as the sixth man. Check out some of these numbers, guys. Garland leads the team in scoring, 20.3 a game, and assists at 8. He has a shooting slash line of 47.7 from the floor, 37.8 from 3, and 91.9 from the line. His usage rate has jumped from 20.1 as a rookie to 26.1 in his third season, and his true shooting percentage has jumped from 49.8 in his rookie season to 58.4 this year. That true shooting jump from last season is a 54.7% jump. It's the fourth biggest among 86 players with at least 500 field goal attempts in each of the last 2 seasons. Allen leads the team in rebounding at 11 per game. He's averaging a double-double. He's dropping 16.2 points. He's shooting 66.6% from the floor. He's the second leading scorer behind Garland. His 1.3 blocks per game is also second on the team behind Mobley. He's third in the NBA in points in the paint at 528 and fourth in field goal percentage in the paint at 77.6. He allows opponents to only shoot 51.3% at the rim when he's on the floor. That makes him the third best rim protector in the NBA. Mobley, speaking of the potential NBA Rookie of the Year, he's averaging a little under 15 points, a little over 8 boards, and a team-leading 1.6 blocks. Kevin Love, off the bench in 22.3 minutes per game, he's averaging a little over 14 points, a little over 7 boards. That works out to, per 36, 23 points per game and 11.8 boards. He's knocking down his 6.43 point attempts per game at a team-leading 39.3%. Cavs have the NBA's number 1 scoring defense, only allowing 102.5 a game. They are number 4 in defensive efficiency with a rating of 106.5. Then they went and added Karis LeVert at the trade deadline, theoretically giving them another playmaker in the backcourt or on the perimeter who can take some of the load off Garland. LeVert is adept at playing with the ball in his hand, something he's done with both the Nets and the Pacers, which would let Garland have some time playing off the ball. LeVert's also equally comfortable playing off the ball, which he's done for most of his career. He was averaging 18.7 points, 3.8 boards, and 4.4 assists with Indiana. And while he can be inconsistent with his production in his first game with the Cavs against the Pacers, no less, he scored 22 points on 10 of 19 from the floor, including several big buckets out of ISOs in the fourth quarter to help nail down the win. But then in his next 2 games, he scored 20 points total on a combined 9 of 28 from the floor. Both games, Cleveland lost. His acquisition does, on paper and in theory, fill a need for an offense that is number 23 in scoring at 106.7 points per game and 18 in efficiency at 110.8. The East is packed with solid teams, as the rabbi noted. Only 4 games separate the Cavs, at number 4, from the Nets at number 8. But on the flip side, only 2.5 games separate the Cavs from the number 1 seeded Bulls. Cleveland has definitely been the surprise first half team out of the East, and they'll definitely be one of the ones to watch after the All-Star break.
They actually kind of go against the theory that you could never have too many big men on the court because they've made the Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, now newly minted All-Star, who, like Darius Garland, will play at home this weekend. By the way, Anthony, did you hear about how Jared Allen found out he was an All-Star?
No,
Apparently,
I have not heard about this.
He was JB Bickerstaff called him while he was playing Pokemon Legends.
Yeah.
And apparently He got the message quick. Allen said, I appreciate the message, gave it a thumbs up, and went back to playing. That Jared Allen is a young guy at heart, and I love him so much. I cannot believe how much of a throw-in he was for the Nets game. That sounds like a production meeting with Anthony. It's like if he's watching some good Japanese anime, he's going to give us a thumbs up and then just go back to watching anime. So
Pretty much.
sorry, I gave you some of the secrets here. All right, Anthony, like some of Chase analysis. Why don't you find the disappointing part of the East?
You know what?
Jay.
Maybe
I just
that's
wrote
why
it
we
like
can't
that.
You know what? That's how we can't find Leon Rose. He's a real Pokemon that we just can't find after what 2 years.
Yes.
Look, the most disappointing team is gotta be the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, you think about a team that got red hot, much like the Knicks, and rolled that ride all the way to the conference finals. Sorry, Jay, winning game 7 in Philadelphia on the road and just destroying the Knicks in the first round before finally losing to the eventual NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. They basically, like the Knicks, ran it back with the same team, but it is like the Knicks, it has not worked out well. They're 28th and 30, which is 10th in the Eastern Conference, which is literally on the cusp of, they're literally the last spot in the play-in. So they're closer to missing the playoffs than they were of even getting anywhere near a top 6 spot. And I'm a guy who said they were a team to watch, but now they're a team to watch for all the wrong reasons. And this is because they can't defend anybody. I mean, this team is 27th in defensive ranking. They give up 112 points a game, which is not a surprise when you think about the combination of Trey Young and Bojan Bogdanovic not being great defensive players individually. You put them together, and it's even worse. Then you think about the Hawks are 26th in opponent field goal percentage, 27th in opponent 3-point percentage, 25th in points allowed, 30th in allowed assists, 20th in forced turnovers. On top of the fact that they also had a lot of injuries, a lot of issues with COVID. Nate McMillan himself even missed time due to COVID protocols, which you never thought a Nate McMillan team would be so bad defensively. When you think about Nate McMillan was one of the league's staunchest defensive players during his playing days, and his Indiana Pacers teams was routinely in the top 10 defensive ranking. Now, offensively, they can outscore anybody, but guys like Danilo Gallinari, his production has dipped down. Think about Hunter's been out of the lineup. So a lot of things are going wrong for the Atlanta Hawks. But Clint Capella, a few days ago, his quote caught my attention. And they asked him about the Atlanta Hawks struggles. And I'm quoting him. Obviously, we had a lot of guys hurt and had COVID. But even our approach the entire season, we were always thinking we were going to the playoffs. Now he continues. Our approach wasn't about the next thing. It was, we won this, we won that. That's the problem with teams that are not used to this. I'm not so shocked. Clint Capella is an NBA vet who has played in the playoffs with the Rockets in particular, has played in the conference and played deep into the postseason. So to hear a veteran like Clint Capella, who by the way is number 3 in rebounding, say that openly speaks volumes about the Atlanta Hawks still being a young team that is in need of growing. Is Trey Young an all-star? Yes or no? I didn't get a chance to look. Is he?
He is very much an all-star. His numbers are off of the charts.
Is he on the team? He's playing on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He's absolutely playing a Sunday. He is almost going to be a starter.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. Because Trey Young offensively still put up the numbers, but like I said, the Atlanta Hawks, their inability to play defense is really their Achilles heel right now. And until they're able to at least remotely slow down opponents, at least as far as the field goal percentage, Atlanta Hawks may easily miss the playoffs. I mean, they're only 3? We just mentioned the Knicks only 3.5 games ahead of them, and it only takes one losing streak to fall from a play-in to out of the bottom of a deep Eastern Conference, just as much as a winning streak can vault them from 10th to 5th in a heartbeat. It is the wackiness of the Eastern Conference. And that's what's going to make the Washington Hawks in the second half of what they're able to adjust to so compelling, because this is a team many picked to take that next step and perhaps be in the top 4 and maybe be a team that could sneak out of the Eastern Conference.
I think people always overrate those. First of all, it's great that they had that postseason run. I do think Philadelphia had a little something to do with that series, just as much as Atlanta had something to do with that series. But one thing that people always do is overrate a postseason run because everything fell right for Atlanta. Everything looked good. Their bench played the best that they could. They were riding the hot streak with Nick McMillan, who, remember, was an interim coach because Lloyd Pierce got fired halfway through the season, where they had the same exact problems that they had right now. The one thing, though, is Trey Young is 27-9 this year, and he is just doing a great job leading the team. This team has too many cooks, and I think the one thing that needs to happen, unfortunately, is I think John Collins, as great as he is probably going to need a change of scenery where he can be a number 2 option, a number 3 option, or go to a team where he can be the number 1 option and you can kind of rebuild around him. Unfortunately, too many cooks on this team, but still dangerous once they make the playoffs, and I think they will. Okay. I was going back and forth because Toronto had a big time winning streak of 9 games. They were really good this year as a team to watch. I still think they are, but I changed my mind at the last minute because until last night, Boston, who I thought was going to be a better team going into the season, has moved their way out of the logjam that was 8, 9, and 10 and has put themselves in a position where they may not even have to play in the play-in game. This team is still always going to be Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, who has been playing a lot better over the last few weeks since his all-star snub. And if you can't believe that Jalen Brown's on an all-star team, join the club. But I think the Celtics team has found their rotation. They have such a good starting 5 on the court. Marcus Smart getting injured in that Philadelphia game doesn't help a lot. You're going to lose nothing offensively from losing Marcus Smart, but you lose kind of the heart and soul of your team. I hate using that phrase, but it's kind of tremendously true. This team looks really good. I think changing a voice from Brad Stevens to Ime Udoka, who Mr. Nia Long has done a very good job controlling this team and kind of being a younger voice who people can listen to and kind of allowing Tatum to cook. And I think that's one of the most important things is Jason Tatum at his best is a top 10 player in this league and can take over games. We saw that with 2 50-point games in last year's playoffs. The one thing I would mention with Boston, though, the trades that they made last week were brilliant. I think Dennis Schroeder is not a winning player. And so sending him off to Houston was the right call. Bringing in someone from Derek White in San Antonio who has that Popovich training, who can get you a good 13 to 15 points a night, who's a much better assist person in a starting lineup, bring him in. You bring in Daniel Tice back in is a very good move too, because you can get some minutes out of the 5. I don't know what to expect with Boston. I picked Boston to be 3rd in the Eastern Conference this year because I thought losing the voice of Stevens, bringing him into the front office and kind of putting less pressure on this team. They've pretty much been a 500 team since their Eastern Conference Finals bubble run a few years ago. I think it'll be a very interesting way to see if Boston can hang around this top 6 and maybe even make a move up, or even if they fall and end up in that 7-8 spot again. Those play-in games in the East are going to be fantastic this year, and I'm very interested to see how everything shakes out. All right, bad idea of a gift that would be buying a round trip to someplace in the West like Seattle. Sorry, Seattle, enjoy the Kraken as much as you need to. Although the sites seem good, there are just really only a few options that you really want to enjoy. You could go closer and enjoy Memphis, for God's sakes. There's a lot of good stuff there. The West contains the 3 best records in the NBA and a 10th seed that, as of this writing, was 10 under 500, although we'll talk about Portland in just a second. Yuck. Jay, your job has been pretty much just to research because you didn't really have to think about too much this week. Memphis isn't just the surprise of the West. They're one of the biggest surprises that we've seen in a long while for a single season, sir.
Yeah, and the hometown of country music and some really good barbecue now has one hell of a professional basketball team. The Grizz were the pleasant surprise of the West last season, going 38-34 and getting out of the play-in round as the 9th seed behind point guard Ja Morant. This season, they are an actual contender, 41-19, third best record in not only the West, but the NBA, as the rabbi just noted. They are the number 3 seed in the West currently. They're second in the NBA in scoring at 113.8 points per game. They're 5th in offensive efficiency at 113.6. On defense, they allow 109 per game. That's 14th in the NBA, but they're 7th in defensive efficiency at 108.8. Talk about Morant. It all starts with the Memphis point guard. The guy's got all-star level counting stats, 26.8 points per game, 5.8 boards, 6.9 assists. His shooting slash line could use a little bit of improvement. Yeah, 49.5% from the field is solid, but the guy's only 33% from 3 on 4.5 attempts per game. He's only 75.5% from the line on 7 trips per game for the guy who uses 33.2% of the offensive possessions when he's on the floor. You'd like those numbers to go up at least to the NBA average of 34.9 from 3 and 77.2 from the line. All that, I love this next gen stat for him. Morant, as a 6'3" guard, leads the NBA in points in the paint with 16.4 per game. That is the highest mark for a guard in the 26 seasons for which points in the paint have been tracked. Two key things for the Grizzlies coming out of the break. One, they have got to get healthy, especially Dillon Brooks, who hopefully won't be out too much longer with his ankle injury, and hopefully he'll be able to work his way back to 100% by the time the playoffs roll around. Brooks missed the first 10 games of the season. Team went 6-4, and he's missed 25 of the last 27. Now, while the Grizz went 21-4 in those games, they definitely missed his 18.4 points per game in all-around play. Desmond Bane has done a nice job stepping up in Brooks's absence, chipping in a little under 18 points per game, 4.5 boards, 2.5 assists, 1.2 steals with a shooting slash line of 46% from the floor, a little under 42% for 3 on a little under 7 attempts per game, 90.7% at the stripe in a little over 30 minutes a game. Here's the second thing they got that's key for them coming out of the break. They got to get Jaron Jackson to return to form on the offensive end. And the Grizzlies' recent 6-game win streak that got snapped by those Portland Trailblazers that we're going to talk about in a minute, where they outscored opponents by an average of 17 points per game and averaged 128 per game themselves. Jackson dropped 21 points and 8.3 boards, topping 20 points in 4 of the 6 wins. He shot 37.2% from downtown on a little over 7 tries per game, 84% from the line on a little over 6 attempts per game, despite shooting just 41.9 overall from the floor. The man has had 1 month where he shot 45% from the floor and above 35% from 3. Both of those happened in November. His splits in wins versus losses are pretty definitive. 18 points per game on 44% field goal and 36% from 3 with 6.5 boards in wins. 14 points on 36% field goal shooting, 21.9 from 3 in losses with only 4.9 boards. His free throw percentage is the same, a little over 80. His shooting splits in home versus road games are pretty definitive as well. 44.9 from the floor, 34.5 from 3, 83.5 from the line at home, 38.6 from the floor, 29.6 from 3, 78.3 from the stripe on the road. That lack of consistency, if it does not improve, could very well hurt Memphis in the playoffs. Grizzlies' second half schedule only has 10 games out of 22 against teams that are over 500 and in the playoffs as of now, but they have 7 of those games in their last 10. So they need to keep beating up on the also-rans of the West while they get their house in order. And ahead of those last 10 games, if they want to stay the number 3 seed, they're 4 up on the Jazz at the moment, who are number 4, but only 1.5 behind the second-seeded Warriors. So they can keep home court in the first, not only keep home court in the first round, but stay on the opposite side of the bracket from the Suns.
They could beat the Suns, though. They beat the Suns this year.
Hey, you know what, though?
Golden State this year. You know what? I just, by the way, did you ever think 2-3 years ago, I think it's 3 years ago, that we would say that Ja Morant is at the level that we all thought, at least as a player or as a star, that Zion would be this big, though? Like, it's to the point where It's
I'm not
like
surprised
a
by any
bust
of this,
versus
Rabbi.
this. I'm surprised by just
I'm
the
not.
leap that's taken from 2 to 3. That from year 2 to year 3. This is a top 5 performance that we've seen this year. And again, there are so many MVP candidates that it's ridiculous. Anthony, I will fully agree that I disagree with this decision, and Portland's on a winning streak now, but Portland still isn't roses anymore.
Yeah, the Portland Trail Blazers, for what it's worth, this is a team 3 years removed from being in the conference finals. And right now, coming in 25-34, if the season ended, they would actually be in the playing tournament despite all the changes. And it's been a tale of two different teams before the deadline and after the deadline. I mean, you think about this. Before the deadline, they were hoping the combination of Norman Powell and Anthony Simmons would be able to help out CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard as far as scoring and the chemistry, and they'd be able to give that team enough firepower. Look, it has not been a smooth sailing ride for first-year head coach Chauncey Billups. The chemistry was not there. CJ McCollum got hurt. Damian Lillard played numbers suffered mightily. Before his injury, he shot 40% from the field, 32% behind the three-point arc. Not sure if the new changes in the foul calling was a major factor in that. But ultimately, the Blazers having a 28th worst defense in the NBA did not help matters. And obviously, when you think of CJ McCollum, the combination of CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard finally kind of reaching its limit, things had to be made, and changes were made. Now you look at all the guys that were moved, particularly McCollum being sent off, sent off to New Orleans for Larry Nance Jr. and others, and they had to blow it up. Norman Powell and Robert Covington sent to the Clippers for Eric Bledsoe. That's another trade that was made, and it's so funny because after all this, the Blazers have actually played well as of late. They've beaten the Lakers. They came back between down to beat the Knicks. They've beaten Memphis. And it's amazing how changes can actually spark a team. In this case, Portland's trying to hold off a slew of underperforming teams like Sacramento, New Orleans, and even the San Antonio Spurs, we briefly talked about in the last segment. For that final spot in the playing tournament, and the way the Lakers are playing, they can easily pass the Lakers in that Western Conference Standings. But it has been a major disappointment. And Portland, I think, did the right thing as far as blowing up the roster and just starting for anew. But now, if you're Damian Lillard, you're looking around, you don't want to be blinded by loyalty. And I think Shannon Sharpe said it best: don't be married to loyalty, because now you look at a situation where Damian Lillard may be going through a rebuild at the age of 30, and his body may be slowly breaking down. So it's going to be an interesting offseason, and what exactly do the Blazers do with Damian Lillard, and what Damian Lillard wants to do. He has made it openly known that he wants to win in Portland, but right now Portland does not have a winning team, and at this point in his career, it may be a time for Damian Lillard to move on. If he wants to win a championship, even want to compete for a championship, it may be time for him to move on with Portland and seek greener pastures.
I will say this, though, by the way, I think it's more what Damian Lillard decides to do. Portland has said they are committed to keeping Damian Lillard and making a team around him. And I think what Portland is doing, I think this was a year or two overdue. I think they are playing the role of, you know what, let's blow it up. Now, it doesn't help that they can't lose their way out of the 9th and 10th spot. But by the way, Anthony Simons is a star who has definitely improved enough to, again, either be the centerpiece of a team of role players, kind of unlike what's going on with the Clippers this year. But you can see this team either going full rebuild without Damian Lillard or semi-rebuild with Damian Lillard. The choice is Portland's, and honestly, I think they're doing the right thing. Plus, they have a very loyal fan base. So if they lose Lillard, they'll, I think, understand it. They'll be hurt for a little while, but they will definitely understand. Okay. my team to watch is the Denver Nuggets. And you would think the Denver Nuggets have one of the worst supporting casts right now in the NBA. Aaron Gordon is a marginal player at best who should be riding the bench. Austin Rivers is in this starting lineup a lot of the time. For God's sakes, Monte Morris, you didn't even know was still in the league, and he made a game winner last night to beat Golden State after Nikola Jokic made a brilliant pass to him to get the three-pointer in the win. I'm just telling you right now that without Jamal Murray for the whole entire season, and he'll probably be out until at least the playoffs, and I would be not surprised if he even touches the court again in 2022. And then no Michael Porter Jr., who they gave a huge contract to really be the guy that backs up Jokic on the court and give this team a lot of size, and they haven't done that. But Nikola Jokic is possibly the most offensively skilled big man in NBA history, who is just saying, oh, you want me to do this now? Okay, fine. 26 points, 13.8 rebounds, and 8 assists a night. He's following up his MVP season with another MVP season. His three-point shooting has gone up. And if you look at the advanced metrics, he might be an MVP again. And it's just kind of sick just to see how it's not even a Denver pick. This is a Nikola Jokic can dominate any team at any time pick. This is by far the most valuable player in the league, and in a Western Conference that Utah has taken a step down, especially now that they've gotten rid of Joe Ingles and kind of replaced him with Nickeil Alexander-Walker through trades. That's not really a good move. Dallas is a team that just doesn't have the supporting cast to really support Luka Doncic, and they finally gave Kristaps Porzingis his walking orders to Washington. Why not the Nuggets get back into a top 4 seeding? And you can see Denver making a conference finals run again. This Denver team is so good with Jokic. It's so good with Jokic on the floor. I don't even need to say stats right now. I have just seen the most out of any player in the league. And to me, Joel Embiid is got competition for most valuable player. There are only 2 choices right now. And Nikola Jokic is just what he's done in Denver just makes them a team to watch by themselves. It's unbelievable.
I understood with Jokic, and what's been so incredible is not just how good he is, how he's been so consistent. Like the last 2 years, he has just gotten better and better and better. You saw him in the bubble against in the series against the Clippers, how great he was. How he's just a major two-way player, but also how for a 7-footer he can run an offense. Like you can literally run an offense through him, not just scoring, but he set guys up so beautifully well done. And then just to see him, and first off, he did a tremendous job of getting in shape because he had the weight issues of slimming down, and he just looks sometimes unstoppable. Sometimes it doesn't look like he's leaving the ground to grab rebounds, but you see him getting triple doubles in the first quarter on some nights. And you could go 1 and 1 either way as far as MVP between him and Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid, even tonight, he had a monster game and a win against one of them. Like, I don't know. That's a toss-up. I want to see. I can't pick an MVP right now. It's just too early. There's too much basketball going on. But these 2 guys, for me, it's 1 and 1A.
They're players who you can build a franchise around. And I think that's the thing that you really are excited for if you're in Denver. You have a lot of future ahead of you. All right, guys. You can get your loved one some Los Angeles Rams Super Bowl gear. There were like 10 people at the parade, but if you live in LA, I know you've won titles and everything over the last few years. Get your Rams Super Bowl gear because you ain't seeing any title at least until the baseball postseason starts, if it actually does start. Because we have the Los Angeles Lakers. Top of the world in the bubble of 2020. Bad luck central with injuries in 2021. They easily could have beaten the Suns. They were up 2-1 in that series, for God's sake, until Anthony Davis got hurt again. And he's gotten hurt since this writing of this script. But the Lakers have gone full on Titanic in 2022, with the iceberg being a certain UCLA alumni. The Lakers are 27-31, ninth in the West. Remember when we said we'd be shocked if they made the play-in a year ago? Now they just want to stay in the play-in or at least get to that 8th spot. All right, doctors, let's play psychiatrist. Answer this simple question, Anthony. What the hell is wrong with the Lakers?
Yeah, I have to put this out there so we have a Valentine's Day theme. This is why I'm single, because I'm so negative all the time. I just have to, I'm just such a negative Nancy. That's why I'm single right now, okay? Just putting it out there. And also, kudos to the halftime.
Likes of Anthony Strait, likes to bash AEW, Kyrie Irving, and Eddie trolls on the internet. So if you have a Tinder profile and you see that profile, swipe right, guys. Swipe right.
You left out the part. You left out the part. You left out the part of getting blocked by celebrities and long walks on the beach.
Pisses off Stephen A. Smith on Twitter. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, we look at the Lakers. They are the oldest team in the NBA by average age, and they have lost a lot of games to injuries. And I have up the injury list from Fox Sports website right now. LeBron James has missed 17 games this season. That's with an ankle, a knee, an abdominal injury, COVID protocols, and a suspension. That's all in one. That's 17 games. Anthony Davis, prior to the ankle he suffered 24 hours ago, which was gruesome and looked a lot worse than it actually turned out, he missed 20 games between ankle, knee, thumb. That's 37 games. That's literally 1/3 of the Lakers season right there out of the gate. Now you look at the fact that a guy like Kendrick Nunn has not played a single minute this season. Trevor Reeves has started the season on the injured list. Taylor Horton-Tucker has struggled mightily, and he's had dealt with a thumb problem. Carmelo Anthony has missed the last several games with an injury. The Lakers have not been whole this entire season. I throw in Avery Bradley. I throw in the massive COVID protocols that hit the NBA. And the Lakers, of course, being one of the teams that went through it. This Lakers team just has not been able to gel because it just never been on the court. Like living from the word go, they were missing starters, hoping to get them back and to get all in. And obviously, Russell Westbrook play has compounded matters. It has not helped. But the best characteristic of a team that can actually compete is players being available. And the Lakers have not had guys available full time since the beginning of the season. And look, if they're going to make any run in the second half, they're going to have to keep guys on the court. And even then, Anthony Davis is going to be out at least 2 weeks before he's even reevaluated with that ankle injury, which we found out is a sprain. It looked a heck of a lot worse last 24 hours ago when it happened. But it's got to keep healthy bodies. I mean, injuries can derail any team with expectations, and the Lakers have the last second season in a row has not been the exception to that rule. They have been hit with injuries, and it is shown in the win-loss records. Like, the inconsistency has obviously been there. The chemistry has not been there. Injuries have been a big part to what is the oldest team in the league. I felt like they should have made moves to get younger, get more athletic. The fact that they stayed put did not help. And now you see Anthony Davis go down. I mean, the Lakers, going into the second half of the season, they're going to be literally behind the 8 ball. And when your best player, who has missed 17 games, is still averaging 27 points a game and still having a LeBron-esque season, but he's also 37, and Father Time kneels to no one. Even the tribal chief at some point, Father Time never loses, and eventually he's going to catch up to LeBron James. He's going to have to get some help from these other guys, but they got to stay on the court long enough to actually help him if the Lakers even want to try to move up and avoid that playing scenario.
And I acknowledge my tribal chief again, like I did earlier in the show. Yeah, by the way, Anthony just gave me the most annoying line that I heard all last week. The Lakers should have gotten somebody. You come up with the trade. There is an anchor on this team, and Jay will tell us about that right now. By the way, we all predicted this, not just you.
By the way,
Yeah,
Washington T. Anthony Davis out 4 weeks.
4
They just
weeks.
announced
Yeah,
on
that got
TNT.
upgraded. Upgraded in the last hour.
Yeah, he won't even be evaluated by doctors for another 4
He
weeks.
might be done until the playoffs or the
He might
play-in,
be.
whenever that happens.
Rabbi, I'm going to put on my psychiatrist's Jack white coat here, and I give you a clinical diagnosis of the Lakers. Quite simply, they're a mess.
Yeah, good. There you go. That's pretty much it. I don't think you need to say anything more.
There you go. Getting Westbrook was a mistake, and now we all know it. I said to you guys when this acquisition was made that I was not sure it was a good idea, and it's become glaringly obvious to anyone who's watched a Laker game this season that it was not, whether LeBron and AD have been healthy or not. I went back and I looked at my talking points from our NBA preview show back in October when we talked about the Lakers, and this is how I concluded things, and I was trying to be diplomatic and optimistic. Quote, just remember that Westbrook is not a great shooter. He's 30.5% from three for his career and has never topped 35% in any season. So his defender will cheat off him when Westbrook does not have the ball and will dare him to launch from beyond the arc. And when he does. And on defense, Westbrook has a tendency to wander and ball watch, and he's frequently out of position. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly from him in the preseason. Whether or not the Lakers can find a way for Westbrook to fit with James Davis and the rest of the players on both ends of the floor is why they're my intriguing team in the West. Yeah, I think we're all intrigued by train wrecks, whether or not we want to admit it.
Yes.
You talk about Anthony Davis going down in the recent 17-game stretch that he's missed. When the Lakers needed Westbrook to step up, he averaged 17.2 points per game on a tick under 41% from the floor, a tick under 24% from three, and a tick under 68% from the line, with 8.8 rebounds and 7 assists per game. Those shooting percentages are well below his career marks of 43.7% from the floor, 30.5 from three, and 78.5 from the stripe. He had 4 straight triple doubles, but only one where he topped 20 points, and that was the only one where he shot better than 50% from the floor. The Lakers went 7-10 in that stretch with 3 losses by 18 points or more. His inconsistent play has caused head coach Frank Vogel to bench Westbrook in the fourth quarter of tight games recently, often in favor of Malik Monk, who seems to have rediscovered his game of late. In that same stretch of games that Davis missed, Monk averaged 16 points per game on a little under 52% from the floor and 47.6% from three on almost 6 attempts per game. That's his defining skill. He's a 35.3% career shooter from three on 4.5 attempts per game. And in the last 8 games after missing the Lakers' loss to Charlotte, he's averaged 17.8 points per game with 4 games of 20-plus points. Unfortunately, the Lakers are stuck with Westbrook as no one was willing to bail Rob Pelinka out and take him off the Lakers' hands at the deadline. So they'll have to wait until the summer when hopefully Westbrook is more tradable with only 1 year left on his contract. What's also interesting as a side note is that they made no effort to dump salaries such as those of, say, DeAndre Jordan and Kent Bazemore to save themselves about $8 million in luxury tax payments and get themselves a couple of trade exceptions, something the Athletic's John Hollinger classified as borderline organizational malpractice for not doing that. I'd have to agree. Is it possible that Westbrook will flip the post-All-Star break switch as he's done in the past and give the Lakers the MVP level player they envision? Sure. But if you're banking on it to get the Lakers into at least the play-in round, I'd be careful about betting the farm on it.
We'll get into the play-in round because nobody actually wants to get into the play-in round themselves. I mean, Sacramento is literally begging to get into the playoff round, and they still can't even come anywhere near it. Okay. I looked at the stats really quickly, and I could see that, look at some of these free agent acquisitions that they got last year, and then I'll get into my point. Avery Bradley, 6.6 points a game in 24 minutes. Not good. Wade Ellington, 6.1 points per game in 18.9 minutes. Not good. The aforementioned DeAndre Jordan, 12.9 minutes, 4 points. Not good. Trevor Ariza, 4. Kent Bazemore, 3.7. The 5 players in double digits are James Davis, Westbrook, Anthony, and Monk. which leads me to part one of this talk, as I mute this site, which leads me to part one of this talk, and that is LeBron the GM is fucking terrible. Let's just say it. With the Westbrook trade, Rob Pelinka literally had a trade in hand where Buddy Hield, who is now in Indiana, would have gone to the Lakers for Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. Both were not fits on this team. Both would never have been worked out. But they brought him to Washington all of a sudden and just threw in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a huge factor on defense for this team for many years. And for every bad scoring game that he had a good scoring game. And oh yeah, they let go of the most influential teammate out there in Alex Caruso, #GOAT Anthony. And and look what he's done with the Bulls until the injury that he got a couple of weeks ago. LeBron James, the general manager, if you don't think everything goes through Rob Pelinka, that's an understatement. It goes through James. Carmelo Anthony has called him the Lakers general manager. And he will sign clutch people or aging veterans because he wants to sign them. So guess what, LeBron? LeBron James, the GM, should owe LeBron James, the 37-year-old all-star forward, a big apology. But wait, there's more. There was a tweet earlier today at the in-name Lakers general manager, Rob Pelinka. So earlier this week, the Rams, who won the Super Bowl, who have bere mortgaging the farm this season and got rid of every pick known to mankind. They don't even pick until the third round this year. Their GM, Les Snead, wore a shirt with his face on it that said, F them picks. And that's been a motto for this team because that's how they got Von Miller. That's how they got Odell Beckham. That's how they got all of these players. And LeBron then said, legend, my type of guy. That sounds like a guy who really, 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 really thinks that he needs more people to win now. Again, what are you doing it with, LeBron? You don't know what you're doing it with because you have no idea. And what's LeBron's answer to this probably going to be? Probably signing himself off to the highest bidder this offseason. He has one more year in LA, but I have a feeling if this season ends worse than last season did in a first-round playoff loss, and spoiler alert, it's really looking like it's heading that way. Who knows if LeBron, the GM, will not take responsibility for the team that's in front of him and find himself leaving the Lakers a mess of an organization again. Remember, they weren't too good until he got there, and now one championship later, he might be gone.
And Rabbi, the fact that he made that tweet is proof that he has no clue about being a GM. It's real. It's definitely easier to use first round draft picks as capital in the NFL to get established players, because you can use your second and third and fourth round picks to get guys who have skill sets that are specific to what you need to complement those core players. And that's the strategy that the Rams are employing, and it works. It doesn't work in the NBA when the draft is 2 rounds.
It doesn't. And I will just say this right now. I want to mention something quick about Anthony Davis. He's only been available for 2/3 of the last 200 games he's played. That's not enough.
All about availability when you're a star.
The best ability is always availability. Finally, get that special someone a ring if you can afford it. 5? Maybe that's pushing it. Let's talk Olympics. It's gone. Thank you, Aaron Donald. It's gone by fast enough. This Sunday marks the closing ceremonies in Beijing for this Winter Olympiad. So before Milano and Cortino d'Ampezzo in Italy get on the clock for the 2026 Olympics, let's talk about some other storylines that have flourished from this Olympiad. Jay, I don't think we're going to be talking about Michaela Schifrin this go around, so talk about someone else.
All I will say is I feel for her. It is the greatest and most epic fail from an Olympian who previously was at the pinnacle of her sport. I feel for her. I talked about what she's gone through in the lead up to this year's Olympics. And at this point, I believe she's going to take part in the team event.
That's her last chance at a medal.
Forget about a medal. Honestly, Rabbi, I'd just like to see her finish a run at the rate.
She finished 1 out of her 4. At least she got 18th in one of them. But
there you go.
The 3 DNPs are one of the most shocking things I've seen in a while.
Yep. But in terms of a great story coming out of these Olympics, how about USA gold medalist in the 500 meter speed skating in Jaron Jackson? When she made the 2018 U.S. Olympic speed skating team by finishing 3rd behind Sochi Olympians Brittany Bowe and Heather Bergsma, Jackson had been a speed skater for only 4 months after coming over from inline skating and roller derby in 2017. In the 4 years since, she became the top-ranked speed skater in the world in the women's 500-meter event. She won 4 of 8 World Cup events this season, as well as
Did Jay freeze? I think Jay might have froze there for a second. One thing I do want to say is, as we're waiting for Jay to come back here, there's just been so many shocking things in these last few days of the Olympics, talking about men's hockey going from a 3-0 to that bad loss on Monday. Jay, you were freezing for a second. So
that's the last thing you heard me say.
Basically just go again.
Okay. In the 4 years since she became the top-rated speed skater in the world in the women's 500-meter event, she won 4 of 8 World Cup events this season, as well as having a 2nd and 3rd place finish on her resume. She was considered the gold medal favorite for Beijing coming into Olympic qualifying. Then she stumbled and finished 3rd behind Bowe and Kimmy Getz, which meant she wouldn't be going to the games as the U.S. only had 2 spots available. And then something remarkable happened. Bowe gave up her spot in the 500 meters to Jackson, her friend and fellow Ocala, Florida resident, so that the, quote, best 500 meter speed skater in the world can compete in Beijing. Bowe's kindness was ultimately rewarded. The U.S. eventually received a 3rd spot in the 500 meters, which went to Bowe. But Jaron Jackson did not take her good fortune lightly or for granted, beating Japan's Miho Takagi 37.04 to 37.12 to take home the gold. Jackson became the first Black woman to win an individual speed skating medal at the Olympics, and it broke a gold medal drought by American women in the 500 meters that goes all the way back to 1994. The legendary Bonnie Blair was the last American woman to win the 500 meter event at the Olympics, doing it 3 times in 88, 92, and 94. Jackson's gold also ended an overall Olympic speed skating medal drought that dates back to 2002 for the American women and 2010 across both the U.S. men's and women's Olympic speed skating teams. She joined Shani Davis, who won gold in the 1,000 and silver in the 1,500 in both 2006 and 2010, becoming the 2nd Black athlete to win an Olympic medal in speed skating. From inline skater in 2017 to almost not making it to Beijing at all to taking home the gold. Olympic stories don't get much better than that.
There are some damn good Olympic stories out there, and Anthony is going to tell us about another one of them right now.
Yeah, if you notice in the last 20 minutes, I've been sitting here snacking.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Look, Chloe Kim, for what it's worth, when you're this good, you can live tweet all you want about food, about feeling snacky, about being hangry. Do whatever you want. Look, not only she's the first young woman at the age of 21 to win back-to-back gold medals in the women's half pipe, an event that debuted in 1998, no less. She scored her first run in the final was a massive 94. On her very first run, she won the gold medal on her first run for 94. So much so that her last 2 runs, she was basically trying tricks and
most of them didn't work, by the way, which is kind of funny if you're just watching it and be like, what happened to her? And she's like, no, she was just trying to distract.
Here's the thing. Here's the funny part, and she said this in an interview. She scored a 94 coming off, in her own words, her worst practice ever. If you score 94 in this event after your worst practice, can you imagine how good she could be when she's at her best? This is like literally amazing what this young lady has done. At her 2 trips to the Olympics, of course, 4 years ago, she took the world by storm with her personality and the live tweeting about being hangry and not finishing a breakfast sandwich in the middle of a competition. And to do it again this year in this Olympian, think about this. Her last 2 runs, she tried a 1260, which has never been done in women's competition before. Her coach encouraged her that it's all about taking that next step in the evolution of women's place in the half-pint sport. And I'm interested to see what she would do in another 4 years with even more time and more able to dominate. She took time off too, and that's the thing. She took time off. She went to college, but it doesn't mean she dropped off. She was still winning individual competitions, but she also been very vocal about her mental health. And obviously, the last few years, with everything that's been going on, she has been on the receiving end of some hateful rhetoric and racism, anti-Asian American sentiment, which is very unfortunate. Considering that she has not just done herself proud, her family, and people that has worked with her, but also she's done this country very
This
proud.
meeting is being recorded.
Oh, hey, Jay, welcome back.
Jay's back.
Yeah, and I feel like I do feel like she deserves so much better, but I do think this time around, winning gold medal and being a little older, a little more mature, and having to go through the ups and downs of instant fame the first time around. I think she's a little more prepared for it this time around. And by the way, I saw that the clip of the press conference I sent where she basically walked in and asked reporters if they had snacks in their pockets before she answered any questions. It's almost like, okay, if you want to interview with Chloe Kim, you must bring tribute. That's if she's Boba Fett. You must provide her with tribute. Twizzlers, a Snicker bar, anything at this point. So in honor of her, I'm going to dedicate the leftover bag of Lay's kettle barbecue chips I'm eating right now to gold medalist Chloe Kim. I feel you. Hooray for chips. Hooray for snacks. Hooray for churros. Okay.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I know, right?
I'm going to. Good Lord.
Emotion.
We haven't talked a lot about the Olympics, so let me just sum up some of the other stuff that I've enjoyed and then I'll get to mine. I've enjoyed the runs of the men's and women's hockey teams. The men started out 3-0, and unfortunately, tough loss on Tuesday night. Losing in a shootout, losing after letting up a goal with 1 minute left to go, and then losing in a shootout. Still means the U.S. has some work to do, but not even Canada medaled this year. So it's been a weird year for men's hockey. Canadian women's hockey is just tremendously dominant. They proved it in 2 matchups versus the United States, one in the preliminaries and one in the final. U.S. outshot Canada, but as Anthony and I were tweeting last night, Canada takes advantage of every one of your mistakes. Canada scored a goal, it got disallowed, and then after a face-off, they scored again. So Canada was really wanting to finally beat the U.S. at an Asian Winter Olympics, and they did so last night. How about the story of Monobob? Something that you may have never thought actually existed, and then going 1-2 in Monobob with Elena Myers-Taylor, who was supposed to be the flag bearer, holding it, finishing second. And then obviously the Russian female skater who and the allegations of doping. She had a positive test that came back late from Sweden, and you don't know, you can't do that. But he was allowed to compete in the women's competition, competed, finished first in the short program, and then in the free skate had 3 falls, the worst numbers of her career. And in a situation where she would have medaled, there would have been no ceremony. She finished 4th. Another Russian took the gold. Okay. With that all being said, Anthony has talked about how Chloe Kim has matured from 17 to 21. How about Lindsay Jacobellis and how she's matured from 2006 as an 18-year-old to what she is now, and that is a 2-time gold medalist. After doing the biggest show off where she lost her lead in the 2006. I was not part of this show. Anthony and I were still in college, and Lindsay Jacobellis was a very immature 20-year-old. She showed off and then lost her lead after wiping out to Tanya Frieden of Switzerland and came in second to win the silver. She didn't medal in Vancouver. She didn't medal in Sochi. She didn't medal in Pyeongchang. She didn't look at this gold medal that she won. She won a gold medal on Wednesday, the first gold from the United States, nonetheless, in snowboard cross. And at 36 years old, Lindsay became the oldest female Olympian ever in any sport. And they say, obviously, they say the fifth time's a charm for Lindsay Jacobellis. But there's more. She earned her second gold medal on Saturday night with her partner in the first ever team snowboarding event. I'm trying to remember what the actual name of it was. I believe it's snowboard cross. And she won it with an even older partner in the name of Nick Baumgartner, who is 40. So now she is the oldest, part of the oldest medalists in Olympic snowboarding history. The story of Lindsay Jacobellis is actually amazing. You can also mention Eileen Gu, the Chinese American who is doing snowboarding for China, who I believe is going for her second gold medal tonight. She has a gold and a silver. But for an American story, seeing Lindsay Jacobellis going from what she did in 2006 at the doldrums of her career and making up for it in spades in 2022, that's just an Olympic story that actually makes me believe in extreme sports once and for all when we actually get to it. But again, it's amazing seeing these Olympics. I feel like I've watched enough of it, but I do feel like it's been overshadowed just because it's been in the middle of all of this shit. Trade deadline, Super Bowl, baseball probably being locked out for a little while longer. But it's been a very interesting Winter Olympiad. Event also coming right out of the Summer Olympics. I'm sad to see you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. It's been some great stories. I would say redemption. You got Nick the Chain. You think of obviously Kelly Humphreys, by the way, winning gold. Literally a month after she won her first race as a U.S. citizen. Like literally, that's an amazing story in itself. She
was for Canada, by the way, when she this was her first time being an American.
Yeah, and we see
monobob winner.
And we saw the finale of a legend, and Shaun White, and maybe the passing of the choice, and maybe a face of extreme sports, maybe in Chloe Kim, because she has done other competitions outside of Winter Olympics also. So to see, we've seen the redemption stories, we've seen the controversy, obviously, with the Russian figure skating going on with that, and also we've seen just how the United States, and we talked about hockey. I think for both the men and women's teams, and I stayed up to 2 a.m. to watch the men's game. That was a game that they had plenty of chances to win and just couldn't put the Czech Republic team away. They kept scrapping along. They squandered a 5-on-3 power play advantage in the third period. And when you let teams hang around, crazy things happen, and the balance didn't go their way. And the women's hockey, the United States didn't play poorly. It's just like Canada with the women's side. The United States was a point, but losing one of the defensemen early on really hurt. Yeah, Brianna Decker, 10 minutes into the opening match, really hurt the United States when it matters most. And Team Canada were just so good. They were determined to right the wrong that happened 4 years ago, and they came out on a mission, and this showed throughout this whole tournament. And they're going down as obviously the most dominant. This is the most dominant run to a gold medal in women's hockey ever. So we are seeing some great stories. Obviously, so much going on in the sports world. But think about this. We're only months away from the Men's World Cup. So we have
No, we're not. Nope, it's in December. They moved it this year because it's in Qatar. So we're not that far away from the Men's World Cup. It's a little longer from this year, actually.
Yeah, so. But I mean, to have everything going on, and this is for international competition kind of in one calendar year, it's a lot to take in, but it's just a lot. If you're a sports fan, hey, I'm not complaining one bit.
No,
Okay,
and
so
you guys are too young to remember something called ABC's Wide World of Sports, and I know.
I know
Oh,
what ABC's
oh.
Wild World of Sports is. We know our sports.
Okay,
guys. Stop
fine.
it.
Fine.
I'm not that young.
I'm giving you guys credit for being youngsters. Take it. It was where you got to see Olympic sports in non-Olympic years, skiing events, track and field, all of that. And if you guys remember the tagline, it was the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And I think we saw plenty of both at this year's Olympics. You saw highs, you saw lows, and it's literally the Olympics, since it happens only every 4 years, and you've got people who then go back to living normal lives afterwards, whether they're training for the next one or they're finally done with their time in the Olympic sun. You literally have the full length and breadth of the human condition in sports in these games. And no matter how good or bad the ratings are, no matter how well the U.S. does or does not do on the medal count, the human stories are, to me, what really make the Olympics what they are.
I will say this, by the way, two things I wanted to mention real quick. Nathan Chen becoming the sixth men's U.S. winner. Dominant performance, proved a guy who has gone from sixth in 2018 after a horrible short program, had one of the most dominant short and long programs ever. One more thing before we go. Anthony, I know you might have watched the women's thing last night, but did you know it came out in 2020. There are Barbie dolls of two of the women's biggest
Canada.
stars of Team Canada in Marie-Philippe Poulin and Sarah Nurse. So I now know what I'm going to get you for Christmas next year, Anthony. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Not a Valentine's Day present, but I'm looking at them right now. They have their Tim Hortons jerseys on, since it's a Tim Hortons promotion. It's perfect. It's so Canadian.
For me, I think a night of Tim Hortons maple donuts, and being able to play has these very talented young women in NHL hockey for the first time ever. I think it's a joy in itself. First off, I think women's sports, when you see this in video games, and like someone like my niece or someone behind her getting to see a reflection of themselves, whether it's TV, books, or even video games, and that's a good thing. And I'm really happy to see women's sports and women's place of sports being finally acknowledged, and hopefully that momentum can continue moving forward.
Yep.
All right, guys. We are out of time. For Jay Kaplan and Anthony Strait, I'm Stephen Rabinowitz. Your boy is on vacation. He is going to the Dominican Republic. So we'll see you in a few weeks. Yes, we'll see you in a few weeks when we enter the madness that is March on another edition of On the Sports Lines. YouTube.com/On the Sports Lines. You can see this show on demand. Facebook.com/On the Sports Lines. You can see this show live. And
on Twitter, our handle is at ONTH Sports Lines, where you will see a link to this show tomorrow, as well as some other interesting things related to sports that we feel would be in your best interest to click on and check out.
So get that loved one your special something. For Anthony, get him another, get the cat, obviously. But for Anthony,
right here.
Anthony, get Anthony another social media account that can actually block him. For Jay, order him that Jimmy Garoppolo Steeler jersey that's coming in the mail for next 2022. And for me, I have everything I want. I have the love of my life. So it's time to get back to her. We'll see you next time on OTSL. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.